Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Walpole Business Spotlight Show. My name's Harry Brusades, and I'm the host, and I'm also the president of the Walpole Chamber of Commerce. This show is brought to you through the efforts of the Walpole Chamber and Walpole Media TV. The mission of the show is to bring into spotlight local business owners and sales professionals so our general public and surrounding communities can get to know, like, and trust these individuals or businesses so they can make great buying decisions. My guest today is Mike Wessel from Motion Works Physical Therapy. Michael?
Hi.
Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get to know a little bit about you first.
Sure.
First off, where are you from currently?
I live in Foxborough with my wife and young twin 2-year-olds. Yeah.
Excellent. And how long have you been in Foxborough?
We've lived in Foxborough for about 4.5 years now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in New York. I was born in the Bronx, but grew up in Rockland County, New York, right by the Tappan Zee Bridge, about 30 minutes north of New York City.
But you said you grew up in the Bronx?
No, I grew up right outside of the Bronx. I was born in the Bronx. So.
Oh, interesting. And is it everything that we see on TV as far as buildings and, businesses and smokestacks and?
The Bronx? Yeah, I mean, it's a vibrant community. I got a lot of family there still, but it's a lot of residential, a lot of commercial, a lot of industry.
Have you been back there much?
My family still lives there, so I still have the family in like the Throgs Neck area, which is kind of close to the Long Island Sound.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So I guess the Bronx was kind of the last holdout of being like an old school neighborhood. And now I'm hearing it's really starting to turn again, where like condos going for $1.5 million and stuff like that.
It's definitely much harder to get property there now, I would imagine. And I've never lived there, but again, my family is still there, and they've definitely had some issues, moving from one place to another, because of the property values.
Interesting. So is that where you went to school in New York, Suffern High School?
I went to Suffern High School, yep. Again, about 30 minutes outside of New York City.
And I think I remember hearing a story that you told me in the past, something that led you to physical therapy, but tell me a little bit about, you played sports in high school?
Yeah, I ran track in high school. I was a hurdler, and I hurt my hip, my left hip, which was my lead leg with hurdling, and I got kind of like a tendinitis, like an inflammation of my hip flexor tendon. And I went to physical therapy. The guy who I worked with got me better. I really liked working with him a lot, so I did some volunteer work with him. And eventually got like a part-time job over the summer working with him. He helped me get into physical therapy school, and it's just kind of gone from there. So I knew right when I was about 16 years old that physical therapy was what I wanted to do.
That's great.
Yep.
Wow, the sooner that a young kid can really know what their career is going to be, really puts them on a great path.
Yep.
So I guess that led you to Northeastern here in Massachusetts.
Yep. So the guy I worked with when I was in high school went to Northeastern. He encouraged me to go to Northeastern. So I applied to a whole lot of different physical therapy programs, but I was very drawn to Northeastern for the co-op program. And yeah, it was a great experience for me academically, but also all the co-ops that I did. Really, I learned a ton just hands-on with being able to work directly with patients. Yep.
So you went to Northeastern first for like the 4-year or 5-year?
Yep.
Because it's a co-op school.
Yep, 5-year, and I got a master's degree, and then went back a few years later and got a doctorate degree also through Northeastern.
Wow. So from there, that led you to your first piece in the career.
Yep.
Is physical therapy. So where were you working first off?
So the first spot that I worked after, I did a couple of internships after I was done with like all the academics. I worked at a small private practice right outside of New York City, close to where I grew up, and then I worked at the Mayo Clinic out in Minnesota. I did a great outpatient rotation there, and then I worked at Brigham and Women's Hospital and did an inpatient rotation, and from there, after I graduated, I worked at a small community hospital, again right outside of New York City in Sleepy Hollow, called Phelps Memorial Hospital. I did some inpatient, helping patients get out of bed and doing discharge planning, with the hospital, and then a lot of outpatient stuff too, sports medicine, orthopedics, that kind of stuff.
So was physical therapy like really around like 40 years ago?
Physical therapy as a profession started like back in like the 20s, I believe. It started out as kind of just assisting doctors, with patients who were in bed. I think it started with the polio epidemic actually, and then it gradually has become something that's really blossomed and has physical therapists have become much more independent practitioners. Like now, you don't necessarily have to just go by what a doctor tells you to do. You can think for yourself. You can come up with your own treatment plans and practice as an independent, direct access professional in the state of Massachusetts.
Because I'm just trying to think, think back to like the 70s when Bobby Orr had his bad knee problems.
Yep.
And if he was in today's world, he would have been able to get through those surgeries and still skate and probably play till his 40s.
Maybe.
But back then, the surgeries weren't as advanced.
Yep.
And you never really remember the rehab or the physical therapy that happened after surgeries back then.
Yeah.
It was almost like, you went to the hospital, you had a surgery,
Sure.
they kicked you out,
Yeah.
and then you kind of were on your own to try to figure out, how do I get back?
Yeah, and it's a lot more involved than that now. Obviously, we're going to guide patients all the way from surgery, from the point when they just have an injury, all the way back, hopefully to the playing field. And that could be anywhere from weekend warriors or high school athletes or professionals.
What would you say is the most prominent or typical surgery or injury that leads to physical therapy?
I would say what I've seen over the past few years is just a ton of joint replacements. So I would say a lot of knee replacements, hip replacements. Those are probably going to be some of the longest rehabs and probably some of the most common rehabs. Because as people are getting older, the baby boomers are getting older. A lot of people are getting knee surgeries to try to just stay more active and stay more independent. So we see a lot of that right now.
So you're definitely getting into this industry at a great time when you've got the baby boomers and longevity of life.
Yeah. I mean, the profession is very vibrant right now. I would say that there's a lot of opportunities in physical therapy.
So before we get into your business,
Yep.
let's learn a little bit more about you. So I guess, what do you do for fun?
I have 2-year-old twins,
There you go.
so I don't get a lot to do a lot on my own right now for fun. But just spending time with them and my wife is always a lot of fun. They're at a very fun age where they'll just wrestle with each other or giggle at the silliest little things, and so that's a lot of fun. But when I get the time to, I like to run. I've run a couple of marathons. I'd like to get involved with a local running group. I just haven't had the opportunity or the time yet. And I read. I do like to read.
Very nice. Your wife's name is Deb?
Debbie.
Debbie.
Yep.
And what does she do for work? Does she work with you?
She's also a physical therapist, but she doesn't work with me yet. She's right now spending a lot of time home with the kids, and she has also spent most of her career as a physical therapist working in skilled nursing facilities, so helping patients who are ready to be out of the hospital but aren't quite ready to go home yet and be independent. She helps them with short-term rehab, getting stronger so they can help themselves get out of bed, walk, go up and down stairs, do whatever they need to do to get back home. But I hope to draw her into the business at some point. But she's we'll see how that goes. If the business grows, then hopefully she'll come on board.
So now let's talk about your business, and it's Motion Works Physical Therapy.
Yep.
And just so the audience knows that, what's the web address?
It's mwphysicaltherapy.com.
And it's located where?
At 1333 Main Street here in Walpole, on 1A, right across from the Cumberland Farms. I'm in a small professional building. There's a dry cleaner right below me, and I'm on the second floor. There is an elevator in the building.
Great. Great location. We just had your grand opening and ribbon cutting.
Yep.
The Walpole
It was
Chamber.
a success. We probably had about 30 people. I was excited that the chamber came out. I was excited that some people from the Business Network Alliance Networking Group came out, some of my friends and family. So it was a good turnout.
So you were working in physical therapy, of course. So why Walpole? What ended up bringing you here?
It's kind of a long story.
We got time.
Yeah, yeah. So I worked in Walpole briefly when I was in college. So I did one of my co-op jobs at a company called Furnace Brook Physical Therapy, which was out of Quincy, and they opened a satellite in Walpole, and they did well, and I had the opportunity to be an aide there. They were at a gym at 85 West Street, right next to the train station, called Core Fitness, and they did really well. And the guy who was running it for my boss at the time, he moved to North Carolina, and he. The guy who was running the business or owned the business, he offered me to take over that business, and I was living in New York at the time. I had just moved in with my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife. We had just moved into New York City. We were in our early 20s, and I just wasn't ready to take that step. But I always thought that Walpole was a great place to come back to. I always thought it was a great town, very athletic town, very vibrant town to run a physical therapy clinic, very active. So, when we came back here, I always knew that I wanted to open up my own business, and I always kind of kept my eye on Walpole because I knew that the guy who I worked for, who was always a mentor for me, he had been successful here, and I knew that I could be successful here once I was ready to take that step. So, it took a while. I worked in Norwell for about 3.5 years. I worked in Quincy for about 5 years. But I always kind of kept my eye on Walpole, and I always knew I wanted to be back here. So when we moved to Foxborough a few years ago, I saw that the space that I'm in right now had been available for a few years, and I just decided to take the plunge and do my own thing.
Nice. Well, congratulations on taking that plunge.
Thank
you. It
you.
can be scary.
It can be.
It takes a lot of guts, but I think you'll make it.
Thank you.
Have you given any thought, here we are at Walpole Media TV, which is in Walpole High School. Have you given any thought to maybe trying to get more involved in the sports here in Walpole, potentially?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to meet anyone that I can, whether it's the athletic director here at Walpole High School or the athletic trainer here at Walpole High School. I'd love to connect with any of the gyms here in Walpole, any of the dancing schools, the martial arts programs, the football program here, baseball programs, anyone really. I'd love to get more
just
involved.
A couple thoughts would be, reach out to the local Walpole High School paper.
Sure.
I think it's called the Rebel still.
Okay.
Or the Rebellion, or I can't remember, but
yeah.
I know that can get you involved in some of the sports as far as being a part of like a booster or something.
Sure.
Booster programs. You can also advertise in the paper, so a lot of the parents will see you there.
Okay.
And in case their kids are hurt or something,
Yep.
they'll know that you're a local person.
Yep.
Maybe think about the track and field team here too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the Walpole Recreation Department is part of our chamber.
Okay.
Patrick Shields, you should reach out to him.
Absolutely.
He's got a lot of things going on with young kids and teenagers, and then up to adults and seniors that are taking part in programs.
Yeah.
So
I would say that my biggest challenge so far has been just getting people to be aware of the fact that I'm here. Like I've always practiced on the South Shore, but I haven't practiced here in Walpole. So just getting my name out there. I've always worked for other practices that have been successful. So anyone that I can connect with, or anyone that can help me get my name out there, is very much appreciated.
So I know today we were in a networking group today.
Yep.
And you were telling us a story of how you just picked up another patient. So why don't you talk about that for a second?
So I recently had a patient who got in a car accident about a year ago. She fractured her patella, and she fractured a number of other bones in her legs as well. She ended up in the hospital. She had multiple orthopedic surgeries. And she stayed in the hospital for a couple of days. She then went to rehab for a few weeks. She had home therapy for a few weeks, and then she had physical therapy at another facility, and continued to have knee pain despite all the rehab that she was getting. She continued to have some difficulty getting up and down the stairs, getting up out of a chair, getting out of her car. So she got referred to me by patient that I used to have in Quincy. She has been coming to see me now for about, I think, almost 6 weeks, and it was pretty apparent that she still had a lot of weakness in her quad muscle, up in her hip muscle, and I think that was why she was still having some knee pain, and why she was still having a lot of difficulty getting up the stairs, getting down the stairs, getting out of the car. So it was pretty easy to identify. She's been working hard for the past about 6 weeks with me, and she's doing a lot better. So after having some success, at some other places, she's been having a lot of success at MotionWorks with me here.
That's great.
Yep.
I mean, without a doubt, the best way to build a practice or a business is through word of mouth.
Yep.
And client referrals.
Yep. That's been definitely the best thing for me so far. The location's been very good, but word of mouth has definitely been the best thing so far.
So, I think I would say a good majority of people have had a injury or a surgery and have probably had to go through physical therapy.
Yep. Yep.
My own experience, I believe, was the most recent one was I had non-cancerous tumor that was taken out of my leg, and I had to go through a lengthy physical therapy to get back from there.
Yep.
And that was through a larger practice in Dedham.
Yep.
When I go there, I would probably be, there'd probably be about close to 20 people there at the same time.
Yep. Yep.
And probably 8 or 10 assistants.
Yep. Sure.
And they'd go warm you up. You'd warm up by yourself, and then they'd probably stay with you for some exercises for about 20 or so minutes.
Yep.
And then they put you on the table and tell you to do more exercises on your own.
Sure.
And then maybe you get some towels to warm you down or cool you down or whatever.
Okay. Yep.
So that was my experience.
Yep.
It was more of a large scale factory, let me say.
Yep. Yep.
So what makes you different?
So right now I'm the only practitioner at my practice. So we're a pretty small operation. I have my mother-in-law helping me out at the front desk. I've got an aide that I've hired. But if you're going to come to MotionWorks Physical Therapy for rehab, you're going to see me every visit. I'm going to be with you one-on-one for an hour. I'm going to take you through every single exercise. I'm going to be there to really listen to all of your concerns, address all of your concerns, and again, you're going to have that continuity of care. You're going to have one-on-one, and you're going to get a therapist who's got a lot of experience. I've, like I said earlier, got my master's in physical therapy. I've been doing this for about 13 years now, and there's very few things that I haven't seen in rehab at this point. So you're going to get someone who has a lot of experience and has some special training in manual therapy as well. I completed a fellowship in orthopedic manual therapy through the Institute of Orthopedic Manual Therapy up in Woburn. So yeah.
You were a smart kid growing up, getting all great A's and B's probably?
Not until high school, really. I wasn't very motivated until I got to high school, and then I started to really try when I got to high school, but not really in elementary school and middle school.
I think so. Your IQ's up there though, probably.
I don't know.
It must be.
I have no idea. Yeah.
So something I found on your website, which talks about what you just mentioned, full-length treatments.
Yep.
We set aside 60 minutes for your evaluation in each treatment session to ensure you get the time you need to and deserve. Most hospital and corporate physical therapy clinics will rush you in and out in 30 minutes. Scheduling 60 minutes allows you or us more time to listen to your concerns and guide you through the rehab process. It also allows more time for manual therapy and a full dose of exercise.
Yep. That basically reiterates a lot of what I just said. Again, you're going to get that one-on-one. You're going to work with an experienced therapist, and you're going to get that same continuity of care every single time. But you're not going to get just the same exercises every time you go. You're going to get a progressive exercise program. So exercise with rehab should change a little bit each time. It should hopefully, if you tolerated what we did last time, it should increase a little bit each time. So if you start out doing this much exercise, gradually each week, visit by visit, it should gradually progress so that eventually you're kind of back to what you were like or functioning the way you were prior to your injury.
Very good. And again, it's MotionWorks, 1333 Main Street, Suite G, Walpole, Mass. And that's mwphysicaltherapy.com. So when we talk about your services,
Yep.
You've got a couple listed here. Manual therapy, therapeutic exercise, functional training, neuromuscular re-education, and patient education.
Yep.
So manual therapy, I believe we all kind of, that's probably what we perceive as
Yeah,
physical
like
therapy.
some soft tissue mobilization, joint mobilization, some joint manipulation, stretching, things of that nature. Anything that I'm doing with my hands to try to facilitate healing, whether that's to stretch a muscle that's too tight, mobilize a joint that's stiff. That's what manual therapy would imply.
And therapeutic exercise?
Is again, taking an impairment and having you either work on range of motion to work on something that's stiff, or strengthening something that's weak, or stretching something that's tight. All right, so any exercise, that can help assist to address those impairments.
Functional training?
Would be trying to recreate things that a patient might be having trouble with. So I was saying how my patient that I've been working with has difficulty going up down the stairs. So we would work on a low level step and try to just get her to recreate what she needs to do to go up and down a stair. Squatting, so if someone needs to get something in a low cabinet and they have difficulty with their knee, they have trouble squatting, we're going to go through things, all the steps that they would need to do to try to recreate that functional movement.
And then there's neuromuscular re-education.
So that really implies like a lot of balance exercises. So we might use balance exercise to try to assist with strengthening by creating some co-contraction all around a joint, or we might try to help someone who actually has balance problems by putting them in situations which would kind of, I guess, challenge their balance so that it can improve.
And then you have patient education.
I think that's really probably one of the most important things that we would do is educating patients about what their prognosis is, what we actually can do to assist them, how much we can actually help them, and what they're actually dealing with, and then how we're actually going to deal with it by using exercise, manual therapy, neuromuscular re-education, and then what they can do on their own to really help themselves. That's really kind of the most important thing that hopefully people will take away. Not that they're just going to have me fix their problem for them, but what can they do to fix their problem for themselves.
Now, is it a different part of the physical therapy practice, or is this also included in what you do? Stroke victims, I guess, they go through physical therapy.
They would definitely go through physical therapy, but our clinic at MotionWorks, we're going to really specialize more in orthopedics, so patients who have fractures, or if they have their rotator cuff repair, or if they have a total knee replacement, or if they sprain their ankle, or sports medicine, so taking athletes all the way from surgery or from injury back to the playing field, and care of the spine. So patients who have neck problems, back problems, that really is what we specialize in. I don't really see patients for neurological issues.
That's more of a specialized.
That's a different
practice.
Specialization. Yeah.
How many other specialties are there in physical therapy that you know?
There would be like cardiopulmonary rehab. So if someone had a heart attack, or if someone had other types of breathing issues, neurological physical therapy for patients who have stroke or spinal cord injuries. There's vestibular therapy, so for patients who have inner ear issues or other balance issues. So there's a lot of different subsets that you can specialize in, just pediatrics, geriatrics, acute care. There's a lot of different subspecialties within physical therapy. And orthopedics and sports medicine is one of them, and that's what we do.
Okay. And again, so I'm looking at from the website here, you've got different conditions treated, spine conditions that you mentioned, knee conditions, ankle and foot, and then hip conditions.
Sure.
So I also noticed here you've got a couple pictures on your website. Oh, shoulder conditions, elbow, wrist, hand conditions, sport injuries, pre and post operative conditions, post concussion syndrome.
Yep. So I do run a small clinic for patients who have had concussions and then are dealing with post-concussion syndrome, where they might be continuing to deal with headaches or nausea or dizziness or things that, so if a normal concussion is supposed to last 7 to 10 days, patients who have post-concussion syndrome or patients who are going to be having symptoms of concussion longer than what would be expected. So we would use certain eye exercises, balance exercises, cardiovascular exercises to try to help facilitate and stress their brain in a way to help to promote healing.
Interesting. Wow. And so when I was on the website,
Yep.
I noticed you've got a couple pictures where you're helping children.
Yep.
And I think we spoke about this in the past, but that must be another larger growing part of physical therapy, with kids playing one sport all year long and really
Sure.
starting to stress their bodies.
Yeah. I would say that, I mean, pediatric orthopedics is a big part of what I do, and we see a lot of young athletes, so we see more of that. I would say, not just kids who play one sport. You have kids who have trauma for any number of reasons, but there are definitely some kids who play soccer year round, play baseball year round, and I think that sometimes those kids are going to really wear themselves out, and I know that the American Academy of Pediatrics is recommending that a lot of young athletes start to really diversify what they do to help prevent some of those injuries.
Now, I guess most people that are injured or have a surgery, they'll get to a physical therapist usually by a referral from their doctor or the hospital.
Yep.
But we were talking, and if you were, I'll say, a Walpole resident, and just that of Mike Wessel and MotionWorks Therapy, you can ask to be sent there, correct?
Yeah, like your doctor can recommend a physical therapist, but you can go really wherever you want. Massachusetts is a direct access state, so that really means that you can choose whoever you want to go to. So again, your doctor can recommend somebody, but if you wanted to come to MotionWorks Physical Therapy, you can just ask your doctor, and
And like you said, you don't even need like a prescription or a referral note if your health insurance allows you to go direct access.
It depends on your insurance. Like Medicare, you would be required to get a prescription from your doctor if you have Medicare. But most other private insurances in Massachusetts, you can just go to see a physical therapist as your direct first line of defense provider.
Great.
Yep.
So that was a really very informative, educational, so a lot of great information. Is there anything, last type of piece of information the audience you'd like to hear?
Just that we're a new orthopedic private practice. I think I said a lot of what I wanted to say about one-on-one care and continuity of care, and how you would work with just me as an experienced therapist. I think that covers it.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
No, thank you for having me.
And that's another show with the Walpole Business Spotlight. Again, it's all about getting this information out to our general public so they can make great buying decisions. The logo with the Walpole Chamber is about advancing business and community. So here we are trying to advance or help a local business owner that's new to the general vicinity, and let our public know about what he does. So you can go and call him at mwphysicaltherapy.com.
Yep.
And what's the phone number?
508-660-1110.
So please look for Mike Wessel at MotionWorks Physical Therapy here in Walpole in case you're injured or in an accident and you need some physical therapy. Thanks again. We appreciate you watching our show. Be well, be safe. Thank you.